When you listen to music, what attracts you to a song? The beat, the melody, the lyrics? Welcome to Auditio Divina, Sacred Listening with Heart, a podcast sponsored by Spirit Way, a program of Whatsoever You Do Incorporated in Green Bay, Wisconsin. For centuries, Lectio Divina, or sacred reading, has served as a spiritual practice that has helped people to reflect upon scriptures with a 4-step process. Katie and Tony, hosts of the popular podcast Revealed, sponsored by Resurrection Catholic Parish, bring this ancient practice to the world of music through listening, meditating, praying and contemplating, or sitting with a song. The words and music come alive to add spiritual depth to the experience of listening. Let's join our hosts, Katie and Tony, as they lead us through this spiritual practice, ever ancient and ever new. Welcome to Auditio Divina, Sacred Listening with Heart.
Welcome to Auditio Divina for Lent. I'm Katie.
And I'm Tony.
And we are breaking open a song as it relates to the gospel for the third Sunday of Lent. Tony, why don't you tell our listeners what is the gospel for this upcoming Lenten weekend?
Well, I'll tell you what, Katie. So before we get to the gospel, I want to just tie the first reading into it just for a minute.
Whoa, you're going off script here, Tony.
That's how I roll, Katie. You know that. That's how I roll. So the first reading comes from the book of Exodus, and it's when Moses goes up on the mountain and he encounters that burning bush. Remember that story?
I do.
And God is in that burning bush, the bush that doesn't ever get consumed, right? Here's what my take is on that. I think that story has a lot to do with patience. Like, I'm imagining that God somehow was in that bush for, it could have been a year, could have been centuries. Who knows, right?
Because God exists outside of time. So.
Exactly. And my guess is that people came by that bush, didn't notice it, didn't pay attention, didn't whatever. And Moses was the first one to come by and say, whoa, there's something special about that bush. They have this encounter. God provides a name, Yahweh, to Moses to address God for the people, right? So kind of a story of patience. Now, if we go to the gospel from Luke, it comes from the 13th chapter. That's kind of a two-parter. The first part has to do with Jesus talking to the disciples about something that happened in the recent past, where some sacrificial blood in the temple got mixed by Pilate, the governor of the area, got mixed with the sacrificial blood got mixed with other blood, and really desecrated it.
I was going to say, that's kind of a no-no.
Right. And so Jesus is saying, that's a bad thing. And the people suffered in a way, right? And then he tells a second story about the tower at Siloam who fell on a whole bunch of people and killed 18 people. So he's kind of asking that question, like, why do bad things happen to good people? But also, I think it brings in a little bit of that, what's our relationship with God? And how do we relate to God? How's God's patience with us? Which then brings us to the final part of the gospel, and that is the story of this barren fig tree. And Jesus talks about how there was this person who owned a fig tree, and he was not happy with the growth of the fig tree, not happy with the fruit that it was providing. So he says to the gardener, let's chop that thing down. And the gardener convinces the owner to just give it a little more chance, have a little more patience, and let's give it a year. And let's fertilize a little bit more. Let's water it a little bit more. Hopefully it's going to get some good sunlight. And if the growth is there that we're looking for, we'll let the tree live. If it's not, we'll chop it down then. So I feel like that's another story about the patience of this gardener, which then wears off on the patience of the owner. And all that kind of works together to ask the question of us, like, how are we in our relationship with God? And how are we patient with one another, but also, how is God patient with us?
And isn't that the genius of the lectionary that, hey, we don't just throw scripture readings together. There's a reason behind picking the first reading and the second reading and putting them together. So there's always a theme that goes through there.
And the other thing I want to point out is that that's just like my take on those readings. Certainly, it's like any song, like we're going to look at today, anything, any piece of poetry. People bring different interpretations. That's what we do with Scripture, too.
And I love that because everybody's experience is behind that reflection and that interpretation. And that's what we're going to do right now. We are going to break open a song that we feel relates to this song. And now, Tony, we kind of came across this song while we were driving down to Okolona when we were brainstorming all these songs. And this one kind of just came to us, I think. And then we started singing it in the car. So this is a song that a lot of people have heard of, at least, if not have sung along with. And that song is, Tony?
Give Me Just a Little More Time. It's sung or done, performed by the band called Chairmen of the Board. Sounds like a one-hit wonder to me. But
they had a couple of lesser-known hits or lesser-known singles, that's for sure. But this is coming to us from the 1970 year.
Which just proves we kind of hit all the genres as well as all the time periods in this Auditio Divina. So let's move to our first step of Auditio Divina called Auditio. We're going to listen to a clip from this song, Give Me Just a Little More Time. We're going to be asking ourselves the question, what word or phrase is choosing us today as we listen? So let's listen to Give Me Just a Little More Time by the Chairman of the Board.
Life's too short to make a mistake. Let's think of each other and hesitate. Young and impatient we may be. There's no need to act foolishly. If we part, our hearts won't forget it. Years from now we'll surely regret it. Give me just a little more time, and our love will surely grow. Give me just a little more time, and our love will surely grow.
As we come back from that first listen, it's time now to share what that word or phrase is that is pulling at our hearts. For me, I was kind of really going between two phrases. And as I kind of sit with them, the one that's really just kind of coming out more in the forefront is, and our love will surely grow.
And for me, there were a lot of different options, too. I think there's a lot of neat phrases in this song. But for me, I chose Life's Too Short. So we're going to go to our second step of Auditio Divina called Meditatio. It's Latin for meditation. This time we're going to be listening to the clip and asking ourselves the question, why? Why is this word or phrase choosing us today? So let's listen again to Give Me Just a Little More Time by Chairman of the Board.
Life's too short to make a mistake. Let's think of each other and hesitate. Young and impatient we may be. There's no need to act foolishly. If we part, our hearts won't forget it. Years from now we'll surely regret it. Give me just a little more time, and our love will surely grow. Give me just a little more time, and our love will surely grow.
As we come back, it's time now to share our reflections on why that word or phrase is picking us. Why is it calling us? And again, my phrase was, and our love will surely grow. And as I kind of meditate over this phrase and what does it mean to me, I keep pulling out these ideas of love is either dying, it's just staying stagnant, or it can grow. And what do we do to make that love grow? It doesn't happen, boom, like that. Like love is at its full blast overnight. I feel like love, whether it's between us, between people, between us and God, it takes time to continue to grow. And that growth never stops. And so God is so patient with us. God allows us to continue to grow in that love if we take that option, if we let it grow, if we nurture it. You know, the gardener didn't just say, hey, you know what, we're going to just see if it grows in an hour and I'm not going to do anything about it. No, he bought another year and he's going to work hard at that. He's going to grow that tree. Just like us, we have the opportunity to work and to grow love, whether that's with each other or if it's with God. So what are we going to do with that time? Are we going to waste that time and let love die? Let relationships fall apart? Are we going to just sit in the stagnant of it all? Not let it grow, not let it die, just be, same old, same old? Or, especially during this time of Lent, are we going to do what we can to make it grow? Are we going to cultivate our love for one another and for God? Are we going to do what we can to make that love grow?
My phrase was, life's too short. And I have to say, I know a friend of ours, her name's Mary, who's 98 years old. And I hope she lives another 98 years, to be honest with you. I know she won't. But her life has been full and rich. I just saw on Facebook this morning a post that somebody had shared where a little boy was having a celebration of life, and he couldn't have been more than 4 or 5 years old, which just reminded me that sometimes we're given that gift of life that lasts a long time, and it can be a full life, and sometimes life can be way, way too short. Certainly I've had people in my life that who I consider died too early. Their life was too short. And in this gospel today, I really feel like that's one of the messages is we don't know how much time we have. We don't know how much time we have to be fruitful. And in the story, we have that gardener saying, give that tree one more year. One more year. That's it, right? Not a promise of many years, decades, whatever. One more year. Maybe that's all we have. Maybe we just have one more day. All I know is life's too short. So whatever day I get, whatever opportunity I get to make something of this world, something of my life in this world, I try to take it because I just know life is too short. We're going to move to our third step of Auditio Divina now, called Oratio. Oratio is Latin for prayer. So we're going to listen to the song one more time, and we're going to then lift up our word or our phrase to our loving God, to the spiritual, to the holy. So let's listen again to Give Me Just a Little More Time by Chairman of the Board.
Life's too short to make a mistake. Let's think of each other and hesitate. Young and impatient we may be. There's no need to act foolishly. If we part, our hearts won't forget it. Years from now we'll surely regret it. Give me just a little more time, and our love will surely grow. Give me just a little more time, and our love will surely grow.
Now it's time to take that word or phrase that has chosen us and to pray with it, to reflect upon it, to lift that word or phrase to the holy, to the sacred.
So we're going to move to our fourth and final step of Auditio Divina, and this step is called Contemplatio. It's Latin for contemplation. So we're going to listen one more last time to the clip, and then we're going to just let that word or phrase that's chosen us today, let that sink deep into us, deep into our heart, into our soul, and really be reflecting on how will that word or phrase shape our lives this week or for the rest of Lent in our Lenten journey. So let's listen a fourth and final time to Give Me Just a Little More Time by Chairman of the Board.
Life's too short to make a mistake. Let's think of each other and hesitate. Young and impatient we may be. There's no need to act foolishly. If we part, our hearts won't forget it. Years from now we'll surely regret it. Give me just a little more time, and our love will surely grow. Give me just a little more time, and our love will surely grow.
As we come back together, let us take some intentional time to meditate on that word or phrase and what does it mean for our life going forward. So take some time now to just truly meditate on that phrase. as we come back from that time of meditation, let us share what we're thinking this word or phrase will do for us going forward. My phrase was, and our love will surely grow. And the way that's kind of calling me is, what am I doing to help love grow in my life? And I'm kind of focusing more, because it is time of Lent, I'm kind of thinking more about how is my relationship with God growing during these 6 weeks of Lent. What am I doing to cultivate that? Am I taking time in prayer? Am I taking time in repentance and in reconciliation? And I need to start, hitting it harder. Really start, fertilizing that soil around that love, cultivating, the ground around that love, that tree of love. And then from that will permeate into the love I have for my fellow persons. So that's how I'm taking it. I am going to be more intentional in growing my love for God and for others by being intentional and really cultivating through prayer, through fasting, through almsgiving, through reconciliation, all those wonderful things that Lent offers us.
And the phrase I was contemplating was, life's too short. And Katie used the word intentional. I think for me, if I can wake up every day and live life intentionally and know that Lent is this season kind of set aside for us 6 weeks of intentionality, of prayer and fasting and almsgiving, yes, but also of simplifying our lives, of decluttering, of just trying to get more in tune with ourselves, with our neighbor, and with God. And so I think if I intentionally every single day remember, look, this, you never know. It's kind of like that song, live like you're dying. Life is too short. Never know when you're going to be given the next opportunity, or if you're going to be given another opportunity beyond this day. So making every single day the most of what you can. I think that's a really good way to live life. So that's what I'm going to try to take into this day, this week, and quite frankly, into the rest of this Lenten season.
Well, we hope that you enjoyed our reflections, and we hope that you had some profound reflections as you went through this song with us. And we'd love to hear more about, your words or phrase. So don't ever feel like you can't reach out. Let us know your words. Let us know if there's any songs that are also kind of pulling on you. And we also invite you to check something else out that we have just released. Right, Tony?
Yeah, we'd really invite you to check out a book that we authored, and it's through 23rd publication. And the book title is Listening with Heart through Auditio Divina. So that'll give you a better sense of what Auditio Divina is all about. So little commercial here, we know, and hopefully not self-serving, because every single dollar that we profit from that doesn't go into our pockets. It goes into the coffers of whatsoever you do to do the outreach that organization, our organization, does. So check it out. Check out our book. And so that's what we have until we see you next time with another really great song.
Catch you on the flip side.